Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Gary Wilson on the line, and he's the founder over at Real Estate with Gary Wilson, and he's also host of Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women, the podcast. Excited to get into that. For any of you that have been listening to the show for a long time, you know how much I love to plug and promote our podcasters out there and build that community. So, Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with your listeners.
Oh, man, I'm excited to get into what you're doing on your podcast and all that good stuff. But before we do, let's just kick it off by getting into Real Estate with Gary Wilson. Tell us a little bit more about the company and what you do.
So years ago, I've been investing for more than 34 years, and about halfway through that career, I realized I just got to get my license because most agents were not really trained to help me invest. Most of them were in the residential world. And so I got my license just for myself. Next thing you know, I'm teaching other investors how to invest. And because I was invited to do this for another teacher, and they found out I had my license, and they kept saying, can you help me? Can you be my realtor? Because most realtors don't know how to do this stuff. I used to say, no, I don't do that. And after about 100 times, I think, well, maybe God's trying to tell me something. So I started serving the investors, and that has started me building a whole brokerage company and a property management company, a title company, an appraisal company, all centered on that investor relationship. And I created a training program for the agents because, again, they weren't really equipped to train to work with us guys. So in any case, that whole thing evolved from me investing to building a business around that, multiple businesses. And one of the things I want to emphasize with people is I learned this is the craziest thing to say this, but it's true. Real estate investing really isn't the end game. It's sort of the foundation upon which you can do other things that you really do like to do. And I've been able to meet some neat guys like Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he said, no, you're exactly right. He said, I don't just invest in real estate. I got multiple businesses. And so there's Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I wish I'd have met these guys in my 20s. I'd have probably grown faster, So I had to learn the School of Hard Knocks way. So that was sort of the evolution. And what's interesting is most people I work with who are professionals in their fields, often business owners, they get that whole dynamic, not just having the real estate itself, but having other businesses, like dentists, for example. And they have the entrepreneurial mindset. And everybody listening, I want to tell you this. Man, if you've got that entrepreneur's mindset and you run your investing like a business, because it is, I can promise you'll be way more successful. Absolutely.
Man, I love that. And I love when somebody creates a business because people are telling them to do it. And it's like, because the demand's there and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like half the things I've done in my life, I figure out like that have worked and been successful. Like this podcast. At first I told the other co-founder, I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then look, it's our biggest platform. I'm like, oh man, well, you just do it, right? So I love that you're doing that. And I love that you found a way to leverage your skills and expertise to provide more value to more people. So what are the, you have multiple different things you're doing. Let's start from the coaching side and then we'll move into the investing side. Do you still do coaching? Are you still offering programs? And if so, what type of clients are typically a good fit?
Yeah. So what I do is just generally, like if anybody goes to Real Estate with Gary Wilson, the website, right off the bat, right on the front page, you'll see there's 5 different little mini books they can download for free just to see if it's something they're really interested in. Because everybody, if I go into a big party and say, hey, raise your hand if you'd like to have a bunch of real estate or paying you money for every month, most people would raise their hands. But when it comes down to
I would hope
to the
they
actual,
would.
Yeah. But when it comes down to it, most people are not really action takers. They really don't. They think they like the idea of doing it, but they really don't want to do it. So what I do is I let them see information that's fact-based so they can kind of self-screen themselves. And then the ones that evolve, they'll listen to the podcast. They'll go to the back to the website and get a free month of membership, and they can hang out with other people online and do things like that. And when they really know that they want to do it, they'll know that they know. And then when they come to me, I can get them into really some basic training. Some of it's just home study course type stuff. a couple $100, and it's called progression-based learning. So the material's laid out in a way that it matches the way you and I learn. It's called progression-based. And if they like that and they realize, okay, I don't want to just be a dabbler. I want to really dig in. Then they can contact me. There's an application process to work with me directly. Now this, and everybody probably says this too, but I really don't work with everybody. I like to actually take them through some training first to see if we're a match. They get to see if they like me too, and they like the way the content's laid out, and then they can make an educated decision. When I do that, I get much greater success at them. I used to say yes to everybody and find out that really I shouldn't be working with everybody. So it's a process they go through. It's an application process. And I'm not really overly selective, but at the same time, I'm retired. I paid off in 2015, December 15th, I paid off my last mortgage. I no longer have any personal debt or business debt. And I'm really just, I hate to say retired because I work a lot, but I enjoy what I do. I'm doing what I was born to do, And so the people that are attracted to this, and the people that are attracted to this, I'll just give you some of the groups. A lot of them are engineers. There's like 452 types of engineers. They get the whole business structure of investing. It makes sense to them, people that own their own practices like dentists, chiropractors, orthodontists, those are also very, very successful. I have a lot of success with them. Here's some other interesting pilots, airline pilots, cargo, military, agricultural, airline pilots. Military folks do quite well. Let's see, what's another group? Oh, teachers. How about that group? Teachers make really good. There was a book, Adam, that came out in the late 90s called The Millionaire Next Door, and they rank millionaires by category. Turns out teachers is the third category. How about that for a brain teaser?
I would not have known that. That's a great brain teaser.
It is, man. And let's see, what else is in that group? Firemen, policemen, awesome group, Those are probably the main ones. So those are the folks that I tend to attract. And they're the ones that really, I've worked with a lot of other people, accountants and so forth, but those groups I just mentioned there probably come to mind as the ones that really are attracted to it, stay with it long enough to have success, and, we've become friends. I've been to my clients' children's weddings and things like that,
Man, that's awesome. You're building a great community. So that being said, let's get into the podcast more. So real estate investing for professional men and women. Tell us more.
Yeah, so one of the most common topics people want to talk about is, well, how do I actually get the money to buy these properties? I mean, everything's getting really expensive. It's like that everywhere. I mean, I'm in California an average of 3 to 4 months every year. I got family out there, and I see what's happening out there, and it's happening everywhere. It's just happening more in California. Well, the reality is if you have a business and it's structured properly, like in a minimum, like an LLC, but if it's a service business, and by the way, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, but I've been told, and I've seen this before, most service businesses are better to be set up as an S corp. It's just been my experience and my observation. Well, when you have an S corp that's producing revenue, that's a business. And in the eyes of lenders, that's a good credit risk for them. You can borrow money. You can leverage your practice, your business, to borrow money that you can then use to buy properties. Now, you don't do it directly. What you do is you set up another entity, like a single member or basic LLC, simple LLC, that will actually like the LLC will buy the properties. You own the LLC buys the properties. Well, now that becomes a business-to-business loan. Your practice, your S corp, loans money to the LLC to buy the properties. And by the way, as you produce revenue in your LLC, that also becomes a business that you can go to a lender to and say, I'd like to borrow against this business. It's actually secured by tangible physical assets, income-producing assets. And I've seen people do reverse leveraging to use that money to build another practice or buy another practice. Now they've got this thing working back and forth with each other, and it's tremendous growth. And by the way, I'm going to just put this out there for all the folks in California. A new dental school graduate, once they pass the exam and get their license, are automatically eligible for $1 million line of credit, business line of credit, to help get their practice up and running. That's a tremendous benefit to anybody who wants to practice dentistry in the state of California. Well, again, you have to always talk to your accountant and your lawyer, but when you structure things correctly, the business structure, that can be used to build and buy a business. And if real estate is one of the things you do in your business, that's a business. Like, it can't be in your own name; it has to be in a LLC or a corporation. But that's a lot of what we talk about. We also a lot of guys will get together and do joint ventures. Nowadays people are investing all over the place. The people aren't just investing in their own hometown. So I know a lot of folks in California, because it's gotten more expensive out there, will invest in Texas and Georgia and Florida and, the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, and Kansas, Missouri, and all those places. They're all great places. Well, here's something else we talk about. For anybody who really wants to find out how do you know where to go to invest? There's all kinds of data out there, free public information on the housing industry, and particularly multi-units. And what we found out is a lot of foreign investors like the bigger cities. They love LA, New York. Everything's extremely expensive. They pay cash, and God bless them. They're happy. Their values are going up tremendously. Mm-hmm. But what we found out is if your thing is cash flow, you're not so much worried about appreciation, but you are focused almost exclusively on cash flow. Turns out that tertiary towns, the third tier towns like Indiana, Lafayette, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Macon, Georgia. These are not Atlanta, and they're not like Indianapolis, but they're smaller towns that some people may have heard of, may not. Turns out there's less competition there. The prices are still reasonably same, and yet the cash flows relative to the cost basis are usually higher. So we just decided, you know what? I'm just going to use data and drive my actions and go to the places where nobody else is, And it turns out it's a very sound strategy, data-driven strategy. Those are probably the two main things we discuss a lot,
Man, that's awesome. So Gary, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information on real estate with Gary Wilson, or to listen to the podcast, what's the best way for them to connect and to follow you?
Well, I would say that people who are really on the go a lot, just dial into the podcast, Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Obviously, it's free. It's on 30 some odd channels. You just go in and subscribe. And if you're the kind of person that's more kinesthetic, which means you want to hold something hands-on, just go to the website and grab those books. My gosh, they're free. Just grab them. And whatever one piques your interest, dig a little further, and then you can learn more about whatever that subject is. But that's probably the best way to start. It's the honor system. I'm not, obviously I'm a businessman, so I want to generate revenue. But we call it prosperity through service. So I've learned in the past, if I serve first, it works better for everybody. It's win-win, and everybody profits as a result. So just get the free stuff first. Go to Real Estate with Gary Wilson website, and/or listen to the podcast, Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Oh, you know what else? Sorry, one more thing. Go to YouTube. Just Google. Actually, don't Google. YouTube. Search for My Investment Services playlist, or Gary Wilson My Investment Services playlist, and there's like over 100 videos out there for free on giving instruction on investing in real estate.
Man, that's amazing. I love what you're doing, Gary. I love the spirit in which you're doing it. So you're definitely providing a lot of value for people on the front end and letting them kind of explore and get knowledge. And if they want to, they can follow up with you for more. But you're doing a lot of great work, putting out a lot of great content to educate the community. Love it. Exciting stuff. And so thank you again for coming on the podcast. To the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot and had fun listening, because we had fun bringing this to you. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there. But don't forget, leave us some comments in the video section. We definitely want to keep the conversation going. Love to hear what you're doing in investing, and move the conversation over to the YouTube community. And Gary, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been fun.
You're welcome, Adam. God bless you and your family and everybody listening too. If I can help you, reach out. It's what I do, and I love to do it. And I look forward to hearing from you.